The black van pulled up to the palace gates just after midnight. Its headlights cut through the fog like knives. Inside the guardhouse, Marcus watched the monitors with tired eyes. He had been standing watch for 6 years. He knew every delivery schedule by heart. This van was not on the list. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the screen. The driver wore a dark cap pulled low over his face. The van had no company logo, no markings, just plain black metal reflecting the gate lights. Something felt wrong. Marcus reached for the radio, then stopped. He was new to the night shift. The last thing he needed was to cause trouble over nothing. The other guards already thought he was too careful, too nervous. They joked that he saw danger in every shadow, but this shadow had wheels. The van's engine hummed softly in the cold air. Marcus watched as the driver lifted something from the passenger seat. A clipboard. Normal enough. But the way the man's eyes darted left and right, that was not normal. That was the look of someone who did not want to be seen. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next emotional journey. Now, back to what happens next. Marcus stepped out of the guardhouse. His breath made small clouds in the freezing air. The van's window rolled down slowly, like the driver was thinking about driving away. "Evening," Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. "I don't have you on my delivery schedule." The driver smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "Last-minute request. For Lady Camilla. Personal item." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Lady Camilla rarely ordered anything after dark, and never without advance notice. She was careful about protocol. Everyone in the palace knew that. "I'll need to call it in," Marcus said. The driver's smile faded. "She's expecting it. Said it was urgent. Then she won't mind if I verify." For a moment, the two men stared at each other. The fog swirled between them like smoke. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He thought about his daughter at home, about his wife who told him to stop seeing trouble everywhere. But this was trouble. He could feel it. "Look," the driver said, his voice dropping lower. "I'm just doing my job. You're going to make me late." Marcus did not move. "What's in the package?" "Documents. Private papers. None of my business." "None of yours either." The driver's hand moved slightly, reaching toward something Marcus could not see. Every muscle in Marcus's body tensed. Was it a weapon? A phone to call someone? Or just nerves? "Step out of the vehicle," Marcus said quietly. The driver's jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make." Behind Marcus, the guardhouse door opened. Another guard, Thomas, stepped out yawning. He had been sleeping in the back room. "What's going on?" Marcus did not take his eyes off the driver. "Unscheduled delivery. For Lady Camilla." Thomas walked closer, his boots crunching on gravel. At this hour, the driver's hand moved again. This time Marcus saw it clearly. The man was reaching under his seat, hands where I can see them. Marcus shouted. The van's engine roared to life. Thomas jumped back as the van lurched forward. But it did not ram the gate. Instead, it jerked to a stop, engine still running. The driver's hand shot up, empty and shaking. "Wait. Wait. Wait." The driver yelled through the window. "I'm not armed. I swear." Marcus's hand hovered over his radio. His heart hammered against his ribs. "Show me what you were reaching for." Slowly. The driver's face was pale in the dim light. He moved his hand carefully under the seat and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "Just the delivery instructions. That's all. I got scared when you yelled." Thomas moved to the passenger side, shining his flashlight through the window. "There's a box in the back. Medium-sized. Wrapped in brown paper." Marcus kept his eyes on the driver. "Who gave you this delivery job?" "A woman. She called the courier service this afternoon. Paid extra for midnight delivery?" The driver's voice cracked slightly. "I don't know her name. She just said it was for Lady Camilla. Said it was urgent, personal." "Let me see the instructions," Marcus said. The driver handed over the paper through the window. Marcus read it under the gate light. The handwriting was neat, feminine. It listed the palace address in one line, for Lady Camilla's eyes only. Deliver between midnight and 1 a.m. Do not delay. Thomas whistled low. That's specific. Marcus folded the paper. Why midnight? Why not morning? The driver shrugged. I don't ask questions. I deliver packages. You're asking us to let you through with no verification, no identification of the sender in the middle of the night? Marcus shook his head. That's not happening. Then I'll take it back, the driver said quickly. No problem. I'll return it. No. Marcus stepped closer. Now, I need to see what's inside. The driver's eyes widened. I can't let you do that. Client confidentiality. If I open it, I lose my job. If you don't open it, you're not leaving here. A long silence stretched between them. The wind picked up, rattling the palace gates. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Marcus thought about calling his supervisor, about waking up the entire security team, about how this could all be nothing. But what if it was not nothing? Look, the driver said, his voice softer now. I understand. You're doing your job. But this is just a package. I've delivered dozens of these to important people. Sometimes they want privacy. Sometimes they want things kept quiet. It's not my place to judge. It's my place to protect, Marcus replied. Thomas moved toward the back of the van. I'll check it out. Don't open the doors yet, Marcus warned. He turned back to the driver. You said a woman hired you. Describe her. I didn't meet her. Everything was done by phone. What about payment? Credit card, cash? Cash. She left it at the courier office in an envelope. Marcus felt the pieces of the puzzle shifting in his mind, but they were not fitting together. Nothing about this made sense. Lady Camilla had assistants. She had staff. If she needed something delivered in secret, she had a dozen ways to do it that did not involve random courier services and midnight deliveries. Unless she did not arrange this at all. The thought hit Marcus like ice water. What if someone was trying to get something into the palace? What if this was not a delivery Lady Camilla wanted, but one someone wanted her to receive? Thomas, Marcus said quietly. Step away from the van. Thomas heard the tone and obeyed immediately. Both guards moved back, creating distance. The driver noticed. What's wrong? What are you doing? Marcus pulled out his radio. I'm calling this in. Nobody touches that package until we get clearance from Lady Camilla herself, but she's asleep. Then we'll wake her up. The driver's face twisted with frustration. This is ridiculous. It's just papers, documents, nothing dangerous. How do you know what's inside if it's sealed? The driver's mouth opened and closed. He had made a mistake, and he knew it. Marcus pressed the radio button. This is Gate 3. I need supervisor to Lady Camilla's quarters immediately. Possible security situation. The radio crackled to life. Copy that. What's the nature of the situation? Marcus watched the driver's hands grip the steering wheel. Watched the way the man's eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, as if expecting someone to appear behind him. Unverified delivery, Marcus said into the radio, and a driver who knows too much about what he's carrying. Within minutes, 3 more guards arrived at the gate. The head of night security, a stern woman named Margaret, stepped out of a patrol car with her jacket half-zipped. She looked at the van, then at Marcus. Port. She said Marcus explained everything. The unscheduled delivery. The vague instructions. The driver's slip about knowing the contents. Margaret listened without interrupting, her face unreadable. When Marcus finished, Margaret walked to the driver's window. License and registration. The driver handed them over. His hands were not shaking anymore, but his face had a thin layer of sweat despite the cold. Margaret examined the documents under her flashlight. Robert Chen, you work for Quick Run Courier Service? Yes, ma'am. How long have you had this job? 3 months. 3 months. Margaret handed back the documents. And in those 3 months, how many midnight deliveries have you made to royal residences? Robert hesitated. This is my first interesting. Margaret tapped her flashlight against her palm. Did the woman who hired you give you any other instructions? Anything about who to give the package to? Where to leave it? She said to hand it to the gate guard and make sure it reached Lady Camilla. That's all. And if Lady Camilla was not available? She didn't say. Margaret turned to Marcus. Have you contacted Lady Camilla's staff? Radio call went out 2 minutes ago. No response yet. Margaret nodded slowly. She walked to the back of the van and knocked on the door. Mr. Chen, open the back, please. I can't. You can, and you will. Or I'll have this vehicle impounded and searched by police. Your choice. Robert's face flushed red. He climbed out of the van, keys jingling in his hand. The guards formed a loose circle around him as he walked to the back. The night air smelled like rain and metal. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Inside the van sat a single brown box, about the size of a shoebox. Plain packing tape sealed it shut. No labels, no postage. Just brown paper and silence. Margaret pulled out a scanner and waved it over the box. The device beeped steadily, showing no metal, no electronics, no suspicious density. Looks like paper. Documents, like he said? Marcus felt his shoulders relax slightly. Maybe he had overreacted. Maybe this was just a nervous driver making a strange delivery. Maybe, but I'm still not satisfied, Margaret said. She turned to Robert. You're going to open it. What? No, I can't. Yes, you can. If it's just documents, nothing happens. If it's something else, you're going to explain why you lied. Robert's jaw worked back and forth. He looked at the box, then at the guards, then back at the box. If I open it, the client will know. They might sue the company. If you don't open it, I'll have you arrested for suspicion of smuggling, Margaret replied. Her voice was iced. The standoff lasted 5 heartbeats. Then Robert reached into the van and pulled out the box. It was lighter than Marcus expected. Robert set it on the ground and knelt beside it. His hands moved to the tape, then stopped. I need you to know something. Everyone went still. I'm just a courier, Robert said quietly. I didn't ask questions because I needed the money. My daughter is sick. The hospital bills are crushing us. When this job came up with triple pay, I took it. But I swear I don't know what's inside. Margaret's expression softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. Then open it, and let's all find out. Robert pulled a pocket knife from his jacket. The blade clicked open. He sliced through the tape carefully like he was defusing a bomb. The cardboard flaps lifted. Inside was another layer. White tissue paper, folded neatly. Robert peeled it back. Marcus leaned closer. His breath caught in his throat. Inside the box were letters. Dozens of them. Old-fashioned paper letters with wax seals tied together with a red ribbon. The envelopes were yellowed with age. The handwriting on them was elegant. Flowing script, and every single letter was addressed to Lady Camilla. But the return address made Marcus's blood run cold. The letters were from someone who had died 5 years ago, Margaret. Picked up one envelope carefully, holding it up to the light. These can't be real. They look real, Thomas whispered. Marcus stared at the handwriting. He recognized it. Everyone who worked at the palace would recognize it. Those letters had been written by someone Lady Camilla had loved deeply. Someone whose death had nearly broken her. Who sent these? Margaret demanded, looking at Robert. I don't know. I swear. Someone went through a lot of trouble to get these here. Margaret's mind was working fast. These letters should not exist. They were supposed to be destroyed after the funeral. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Unless they were kept hidden or stolen, Margaret added. The radio on Margaret's belt crackled to life. A voice came through, tight with urgency. This is Camilla's personal aide. The lady is awake. She's asking what's happening at the gate. She sounds frightened. Margaret grabbed the radio. Tell her we have a package. Letters from She paused, choosing her words carefully from the past. There was a long silence on the other end. Then the aide's voice came back, barely above a whisper. She says to burn them. Immediately. Do not bring them inside. Do not let anyone read them. Burn them now. Margaret stared at the radio in her hand. Around her, the guards exchanged confused glances. Robert stood frozen, his knife still open. "Did she say burn them?" Thomas asked. "Without even looking at them?" Margaret's expression hardened. Those were her orders. But Marcus stepped forward. "Shouldn't we investigate? Someone sent these for a reason. Someone knows something about Lady Camilla's past. That's a security threat. Our job is to protect Lady Camilla," Margaret said firmly. "Not to question her decisions." She reached for the box, but Marcus moved faster. He grabbed one letter from the pile and held it up. The wax seal caught the light deep red, pressed with a symbol Marcus could not quite make out. "Margaret, think about this," Marcus said. "Someone kept these letters secret for 5 years. Someone paid a courier triple wages to deliver them at midnight. This is not just about the past. This is about now. About whoever sent them." Margaret's hand hovered in the air. "Put it back, Marcus. We need to know who's behind this." "That's not our decision." "But it affects her safety, Marcus." Margaret's voice cut through the night like a blade. "I gave you an order." Two guards locked eyes. Marcus could see the conflict in Margaret's face. She was thinking the same thing he was. But orders were orders. Marcus placed the letter back in the box slowly. His mind raced. Something was not right. Why would Lady Camilla want these destroyed without looking at them? What was in these letters that terrified her so much? Margaret took the box and walked toward a metal barrel near the guardhouse, the kind they used to burn paper waste. She set the box down and pulled out a lighter. "Wait," Robert said suddenly. Everyone turned. The courier looked pale. "Before you burn those, there's something else." Margaret's hand froze. "What else?" "The woman who hired me. She said if the delivery was successful, if the package made it inside the gates, I'd get a bonus. But if it was stopped, if it was destroyed—" Robert swallowed hard. "She said I should tell you something." "Tell us what?" Marcus demanded. She said, "Tell them the truth always surfaces. Tell them the clock is ticking." The words hung in the cold air like a threat. Margaret's face went white. She pressed the radio button. "Get me Lady Camilla's aide immediately." While they waited, Marcus studied the letters again. The handwriting. The wax seals. Something nagged at him. He had seen these before, years ago, when he first started working at the palace. There had been rumors back then. Whispers about a secret relationship, about promises made and broken. The radio crackled. "Lady Camilla's aide here. Tell Lady Camilla." There was a message with the letters, Margaret said. The sender said, "The truth always surfaces. The clock is ticking." Another long silence. Marcus could hear muffled voices on the other end. Someone was crying. He thought it might be Lady Camilla herself. When the aide came back on, her voice was shaking. "Lady Camilla wants to see them. Bring them to her study, immediately. No one else is to know about this. No one." Margaret picked up the box. She looked at Marcus and Thomas. "You two saw nothing tonight. Understood?" "Margaret," Marcus said quietly. "What's going on?" "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's bigger than us." She turned to Robert. "You're going to wait here? Don't move. Don't call anyone. We'll deal with you after." Robert nodded, looking relieved just to be away from the box. Margaret, Marcus, and Thomas walked through the palace gates. The grand building loomed ahead, its windows dark, except for one. The light in Lady Camilla's study burned bright. As they walked, Marcus whispered, "Who do you think sent them?" "I don't know," Margaret replied. "But they wanted her scared. They wanted her to remember something." "Remember what?" Margaret did not answer. They climbed the stone steps to the side entrance. A door opened before they could knock. Lady Camilla's aide stood there, her eyes red and swollen. "She's waiting," the aide said. They walked through silent hallways. Their footsteps echoed on marble floors. Everything felt wrong. The palace was never this quiet. Even at night, there was always sound, always life. But now it felt like walking through a tomb. They reached the study door. Margaret knocked softly. "Hey, come in," a voice called. It was hoarse, broken. The door opened. Lady Camilla stood by the fireplace, her back to them. She wore a silk robe over her nightgown. Her hair, usually perfect, fell loose around her shoulders. She looked smaller somehow, fragile. "Put them on the desk," she said without turning. Margaret placed the box down gently. The letters shifted inside, rustling like dead leaves. "Leave us," Lady Camilla said. "My Lady," Margaret began, "I think we should stay." "For security," I said, "leave." Lady Camilla's voice was steel-wrapped in velvet. The guards backed toward the door. Marcus glanced back one last time. He saw Lady Camilla's hand reach toward the box, saw it tremble in the firelight. Then the door closed. Outside in the hallway, the three guards stood in silence. From inside the study came a sound that made Marcus's chest tighten. Lady Camilla was crying, deep, wrenching sobs that seemed to come from somewhere ancient and dark. And then another sound, paper tearing. She was reading the letters. 20 minutes passed. The guards stood outside the study like statues. Inside, the crying had stopped. Now, there was only silence, which somehow felt worse. Marcus shifted his weight. Every instinct told him something dangerous was unfolding. "We should check on her," he whispered. "Wait," Margaret said. But her hand rested on her radio, ready. Suddenly, the door flew open. Lady Camilla stood there, transformed. Her tears were gone. Her face was composed, cold even. But her eyes blazed with something Marcus could not name. Fury, fear, determination. "Marcus," she said. His name on her lips made him stand straighter. "You stopped the delivery." "Why?" "The timing seemed wrong, my lady. The circumstances, you trusted your instincts." She studied him. "That trust may have saved my life." The words fell like stones. "My lady." Margaret stepped forward. Lady Camilla held up one of the letters. The wax seal was broken. These letters should not exist. They were written to me 20 years ago by someone I loved. Someone I was supposed to marry before duty called me elsewhere. When he died 5 years ago, I thought all evidence of our relationship died with him. "Someone kept them," Thomas said quietly. "Someone kept them." Lady Camilla agreed. "And now that someone is using them." She walked to her desk and pressed a hidden button. A drawer slid open, revealing a laptop. She turned it to face them. On the screen was an email, received at 11:45 that night. Marcus leaned closer and read, "Dear Lady Camilla, by now you have received my gift. 23 letters that prove your first love never stopped loving you. Letters that prove you lied to the royal family about the relationship ending. Letters that prove you considered running away from your duties. Tomorrow morning. Copies of these letters will be sent to every major newspaper unless you resign from your position. You have until sunrise to decide. Tell no one. Call no one. This is between us, a friend from the past." The room spun around Marcus. This was not just a security threat. This was blackmail. This was an attack on everything Lady Camilla represented. "Who sent this?" Margaret demanded. "I don't know," Lady Camilla said. "The email is from an anonymous account. Untraceable." "The courier," Marcus said suddenly. "Robert Chen. He might know something." Lady Camilla shook her head. "He's a pawn. Whoever is behind this would not risk using someone who could identify them." "Then what do we do?" Thomas asked. Lady Camilla walked to the window. Dawn was still hours away, but the sky was beginning to change from black to deep blue. "I have 3 choices. I can resign and spend the rest of my life wondering who destroyed me. I can refuse and let them publish the letters, destroying my reputation and embarrassing the family. Or," she turned back to them, "I can find out who sent them and stop this before sunrise." "Oh?" Margaret asked. "The letters?" Lady Camilla picked up the box. "Whoever sent these does not just have them. They kept them safe for 5 years. That means they were close to him. Close to the man I loved. Close enough to know where he kept his most private possessions." Marcus felt his mind clicking into place. Someone from his household. Exactly. Lady Camilla opened a cabinet and pulled out a file. "After he died, I had his estate investigated quietly. I needed to know if there were any other letters, any proof of our relationship. The investigation found nothing. But there were 7 people who had access to his private study. 7 people who could have taken these. She spread photos across the desk. 7 faces. 3 men, 4 women, all middle-aged, all looking dignified and proper. "One of these people is trying to destroy me," Lady Camilla said, "and we have 4 hours to figure out which one." Margaret picked up one photo. "We should bring them all in for questioning." "No," Lady Camilla said sharply. "If we move openly, the blackmailer will know. They'll publish immediately. We need to be subtle, smart." Marcus stared at the photos. 7 people. 7 possibilities. How could they narrow it down in 4 hours? Then he remembered something. The courier said the woman who hired him left cash in an envelope at the office. That means she visited in person at least once. "Quick ring courier service," Margaret said, already pulling out her phone. "I'll call them at this hour." Thomas asked, "For this, they'll answer." Margaret dialed. After 3 rings, a sleepy voice answered. Margaret identified herself and explained the urgency. Minutes later, she hung up. "The manager is checking security footage from yesterday afternoon when the payment was dropped off. He'll call back." Lady Camilla picked up another letter. "While we wait, I need to read all of these. There might be clues, something that tells me who would do this." She sat at her desk and began reading. Marcus watched her face change with each letter. Smiles flickered and died. Tears threatened but never fell. This was a woman reliving a past she had buried. 10 minutes later, Margaret's phone rang. "Yes." She listened, her eyes widening. "Are you certain?" "Send me the image immediately." She hung up and looked at her phone. An email arrived. She opened it and turned the screen toward Lady Camilla. The security footage showed a woman in a dark coat and sunglasses entering the courier office. She moved quickly, efficiently. She placed an envelope on the counter and left. But just before she exited, she turned slightly toward the camera. The angle caught the side of her face. Lady Camilla's hand flew to her mouth. "You know her," Marcus said. "I know her." Lady Camilla's voice was barely a whisper. "I know exactly who she is." Lady Camilla pointed at the woman in the security footage. Her finger trembled. Helena Morrison. She was his nurse during his final months. She took care of him when he was dying. Cass felt the pieces falling into place. She had access to everything. She was with him constantly, Lady Camilla continued. "I trusted her. When I could not visit him openly, she would send me updates. She knew about our past. She knew everything. Why would she do this?" Thomas asked. Lady Camilla set down the letter she was holding. "Because she loved him too." The room went silent. "I never realized it," Lady Camilla said softly. She never said anything. But she must have discovered these letters while caring for him. She must have read them and understood what we meant to each other. And she hated me for it. Margaret checked her watch. 3 hours until sunrise. "We need to move now." "Where does she live?" Marcus asked. Lady Camilla pulled up a file on her laptop. "She retired after he died. Moved to a cottage about 30 miles from here. She told me she wanted peace and quiet. She wanted to disappear," Margaret said. "To plan this," Lady Camilla stood. "I'm coming with you, my lady. This is my fight, Margaret. My past. My responsibility." Lady Camilla's voice left no room for argument. She walked to her wardrobe and pulled out a simple coat and boots. "Besides, Helena will only talk to me. She wants me to face her. That's what this is really about." 20 minutes later, 2 cars rolled quietly out of the palace gates. Marcus drove the first with Lady Camilla in the passenger seat. Margaret and Thomas followed behind. The roads were empty, dark except for streetlights casting orange pools. Lady Camilla stared out the window. "I should have known something was wrong. After he died, Helena called me several times. She wanted to meet. Said she had things to tell me about his final days. I was too afraid to see her. Too afraid of reopening wounds. Couldn't have known," Marcus said. "I should have." Lady Camilla's hands twisted in her lap. "I abandoned him to marry someone appropriate. Someone the family approved of. He understood, but it broke him. And now Helena, wants me to feel that same breaking. The countryside opened up around them. Fields stretched into darkness. After 40 minutes, Marcus turned onto a narrow lane. At the end sat a small cottage with a single light burning in the window. They parked and approached slowly. The cottage was neat, surrounded by a garden that even in late autumn looked carefully tended. Smoke curled from the chimney. She was awake. She was waiting. Lady Camilla knocked on the door. It opened immediately. Helena. Morrison stood there in a thick sweater and worn jeans. She was smaller than Marcus expected, with gray hair pulled back in a bun and sharp, intelligent eyes. When she saw Lady Camilla, she did not look surprised. She looked satisfied. "I wondered if you would come yourself," Helena said. "Or if you would send lawyers and guards to do your dirty work." "We need to talk," Lady Camilla said quietly. Helena stepped aside. "I suppose we do." They entered a small, warm living room. Books lined every wall. A fire crackled in the hearth. On the mantel sat a photograph of the man they had both loved, young and smiling in the sunshine. "Why are you doing this?" Lady Camilla asked. Helena poured herself tea from a pot on the side table. She did not offer any to her guests. "Because you deserve to feel what he felt. The abandonment, the loneliness, the slow death of hope. I never wanted to hurt him, but you did." Helena's voice cracked like a whip. "You promised him forever and then walked away because your family said to. He spent 20 years waiting for you to change your mind, to choose him, and you never did. I had duties. Responsibilities, you had love." Helena set down her tea with shaking hands. "Real love. The kind most people spend their whole lives searching for. And you threw it away for appearances?" Lady Camilla's eyes filled with tears. "I know what I did. I've lived with that choice every day. But destroying me now won't bring him back. It won't change what happened." And "No," Helena agreed, "but it will give him justice. You got to live your perfect life while he withered away alone. Now you'll know how it feels to lose everything." Marcus watched the two women face each other, both broken by the same man, both destroyed by the same love. Lady Camilla wiped her eyes. "If you publish those letters, you'll hurt more than just me. You'll hurt his memory. People will see him as someone who interfered with royal duties. Someone inappropriate. Is that what you want? His name dragged through scandal?" Helena hesitated. Marcus saw the crack in her armor. "He would not want that," Lady Camilla continued softly. "You know he wouldn't. He was a private man. He kept those letters secret to protect me, yes, but also to protect himself. To protect what we had from becoming gossip." "You don't get to tell me what he would want," Helena said, but her voice wavered. "You're right. I don't." Lady Camilla reached into her coat and pulled out all 23 letters. "But I know he would want you to be happy. He told me once that you were kind, that you made his last days bearable. He cared about you, Helena." Helena's face crumpled. "He never looked at me the way he looked at your photograph. Even dying, even in pain, he kept your picture by his bed. And I hated you for that. I hated you so much." "I'm sorry," Lady Camilla said. "I'm sorry I hurt him. I'm sorry I hurt you. I've been sorry for 20 years. Silence filled the cottage. The fire popped softly. Outside, birds began their pre-dawn songs. Helena sat down heavily in a chair. "I thought destroying you would make me feel better. I thought it would give me peace. Will it?" Lady Camilla asked. Helena looked at the letters in Lady Camilla's hands. "No, it won't. Nothing will." Lady Camilla knelt beside Helena's chair. "Then let's both stop carrying this pain. Let's let him rest. Let's let ourselves rest." Helena was crying now, deep sobs that shook her small frame. Lady Camilla put her arms around the woman who had tried to destroy her, and they cried together. Marcus glanced at Margaret. They quietly moved toward the door, giving the women privacy. Outside, the sky was turning pink. Sunrise was coming. 30 minutes later, Lady Camilla emerged. Her eyes were red but clear. She carried the letters and one more thing, a small stack of papers. Helena wrote a confession, Lady Camilla said. She's turning herself in for attempted blackmail. But I won't press charges if she agrees to destroy all copies of the letters and seek counseling, she agreed. Margaret asked. She did. She's tired of being angry. We both are. They drove back to the palace in silence. When they arrived, the sun was fully up, painting everything gold. Lady Camilla turned to Marcus before going inside. Thank you, she said, for trusting your instincts. For not letting that delivery pass without question? Marcus nodded. Just doing my job, my lady. No, Lady Camilla smiled sadly. You did more than that. You reminded me that some people still care about protecting others, even when it's difficult, even when it would be easier to look away. She walked into the palace, carrying the letters that would never be published. Marcus returned to the guardhouse. Robert the courier was still there, exhausted and confused. Marcus sent him home with a warning to choose his jobs more carefully. As Marcus sat down to write his incident report, he thought about love and duty, about choices and consequences. He thought about Lady Camilla and Helena, two women bound together by the same ghost, and he thought about how one moment of suspicion, one choice to trust his instincts, had changed everything. Sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest weight. Sometimes a single guard at a gate can stop a whole world from crumbling. Marcus smiled to himself and began to write. It had been a long night, but it had been the right kind of long. Outside, the morning shift arrived. A new day began at the palace gates. And somewhere inside, Lady Camilla burned the last letter and let 20 years of grief finally turn to ash.